Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. This is just a conversation. And yes, it's regarding the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case out of Nova Scotia. And no, I'm not throwing cards in this video. Don't worry, I have one video I'm going to be publishing to the channel. I recorded it on Tuesday, but I'm going to publish it sometime soon. And I'm going to record a quick reading just tapping in on some of the latest characters who have come forward since this week. But I want to talk to you all a little bit, and it's an unpopular opinion, I know, but I'm at an age and of experience to feel confident in what I'm talking about. Now, before I get into that, I want you all to know exactly where I stand. Where my readings have directed me to, I still firmly believe that the people on that property where they disappeared, the kids disappeared from, have guilty knowledge, allegedly, right? I still firmly believe that. I am reserving my own judgment in terms of who did what until more information comes out. So just know that I'm not taking Daniel's side. I'm not taking Malaya's side or any of the sides. So just know that before you hear my unpopular opinion. So recently, in the last day or so, a an alleged Snapchat photo came out of Malaya, allegedly at the beach. Okay, allegedly at the beach. It's a screenshot of a screenshot. I'm going to say this right here, right now. I am an evidentiary person. Some of you all laugh when I say that. But what I mean by that is I believe in evidence. I would like to see the metadata behind those pictures. I want to see where they actually originated from. I don't want to see screenshots. So for me, the verdict is still out on the legitimacy of that photo. But let's say that photo is for real. Let's just say it's for real. I made me some thoughts on this so I stay on track with this video because they say that Malaya went to the beach. I don't know what beach. Y'all don't know what beach. When I looked up the temperature for this past week of the 24th or whatever is what I think the date is of this alleged beach visit. From where I could tell, it's like in the mid to low 60s. That's Fahrenheit. I don't know what that translates to Celsius, but for me, that seems a little nippy to be going to the beach in a bikini. So that to me struck me as odd. But hey, it can happen. Me personally wouldn't be me. I need to be out in 80, 90, 100-degree weather to be comfortable near water in a bathing suit. Maybe y'all different up north. I don't know. But nevertheless, this photo is going around. Oh, and before I get into let's pretend it's real, the other thing is Malaya looks quite slim in that picture. So that could mean one of two things. It could mean that A, this is not a current picture and somebody's making it seem as so. That is a possibility. Or it is her present day and she's lost a lot of weight, which could speak to grief. Okay. But for the sake of argument, we're gonna say, hey, yeah, let's just give it credence. Let's say this is real. Now, here's my position on if it's real. I've dealt with two tragedies involving two of my children. One tragedy involved the death of an infant in the year 2000. So that was 25 years ago. I was 20 years old at the time. And no, I didn't cause the baby's death. It was natural causes. My baby died in my arms after living for 6 weeks. It was very traumatic, especially as a young mom. And I had a toddler at the time, a 2-year-old, that I had to still take care of. But I slipped into a really bad depression. And I already had a history of depression in my teen years, and I already had ideation of doing things to myself. in terms of ending things. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I already have a history of that. So fast forward to 2000, when I lost my baby, I was failing fast. I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't eating. I started drinking copious amounts of alcohol, something I don't normally do. And I was fading fast. And my friends, bless their hearts, I'm going to try not to get emotional in this video. My friends were worried, I'm sure. And one day they called me up and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I had gotten out, I remember this distinctly. I got out of the tub. I had been drinking. I was in the tub and contemplating things. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here at the house. They were like, "Okay, well, we're gonna come get you." I'm like, I don't want no company. I don't want you coming to get me. I don't want to go nowhere. Leave me alone. They're like, no. We're gonna come and get you. And so this was before cell phones really became a thing where people had them all over the place. So they were calling me probably from their landline, right? And then they were like, "We're gonna come 30 minutes away. We're gonna come get you. And you're gonna come over here and we're gonna make your favorite food. We are going to play music. If you feel like singing or dancing, do that. If you feel like crying, we're gonna also, there's a park nearby. We're gonna have you, just get out and just be with us." And I was like, "I don't like it," but they came and got me. They helped me pull myself together, and I went to their house. They played music. They made my favorite meals. I cried. I wept. I sang. I danced. I laughed. I slept in their, it was like, I think it was a one-bedroom apartment. Yes. And I slept in my friend's bed. And if you looked at it without the context, if people were like, if social media was going on like it is now, and people were snapping photos of me, they would say, "You're not looking like a grieving mother. You don't seem like someone who has lost their child 2 months prior." What y'all don't know is the context. I was fading fast. I was rejecting the support I was getting from counselors, grief counselors, the hospital. I was fading fast. Even my family didn't know what to do. But guess who did? My friends knew what to do. And they were like, "No, you need to get out. You need some sunlight. We need to feed you. You haven't been eating. We got to get you to life." And I know that was a turning point for me. The second tragedy I had involving my child happened 16 years later in 2016. Yes, during social media. And thankfully, that child lived. That child was born after the baby that passed. So this child I'm talking about now that went through a very public tragedy was my rainbow baby. And it was all over the place. I witnessed what happened to my child. Again, I wasn't the one responsible. It was a crime of what happened to my child, and my child ended up in intensive care unit for almost a month, just shy of a month. He was in ICU for a month. He was 13 years old at the time. It was nonstop being in the hospital with him day in and day out. Couldn't even get showers. I didn't even have a chance to really have emotions. And my friends, yes, my family is super supportive. The community was super supportive. I was so touched and amazed by the tiny town I lived in California, as well as the greater Sacramento region and the Bay Area where I originally came from. I'm born and raised in Oakland. I was so touched by the outpouring of support. And I have friends who would say, "You got to get out. We got to get you out of this hospital. We got to get you back with the land of the living." And again, the optics would have looked crazy if people were snapping photos and putting them on social media. It would look crazy because it'd be like, "You should be in the hospital. Why are you having a margarita, at this spot over here? What's going on with you?" Not understanding the full context of, I was not sleeping, I was not eating. My life had become the hospital, my child, like 24/7. My other children, I couldn't even focus on, let alone myself. So I say all that to say, you have to understand the context of things surrounding a situation before you start throwing judgment. And really, it's really frustrating for me to see people who are like, well, I don't have children, or I never been through that before. I would be searching. Yes, I can agree with you all that I personally, like if there was a question in my mind that my child could possibly be in the forest, I'd probably be searching. I sense that she has information from law enforcement, or she is in the know that her children aren't in there, and she's not going to fake the funk for y'all. She's just not. However you want to feel about this, however you want to feel about it. My only critique, as someone who's dealt with a very public tragedy where the news camped out in front of your yard, every time I would come home, it became didn't want to go home. They were camped out. The crime itself happened actually at my parents' house, but they learned where I lived too. I didn't live very far from my parents. They were there. It was very public. People were always talking to me about it. People were flooding my inbox. Um, I had an unpopular opinion at one point about law enforcement in that case, and I also got a little bit of backlash. So I understand why she did some of the things she did. The only critique that I have for Malaya, and really, I can't even say because I've never actually had two children at once be gone missing and presumed deceased. I know what it's like to lose a child. I know what it's like to have your child be in a coma and have several life-saving surgeries and 10 blood transfusions and all of the things, and being told you don't know if he's going to make it through the night, then you don't know if he's going to have a traumatic brain injury. We don't know if he's going to be able to walk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know what that's like. And so I have to have compassion because I don't know the full backstory, what is known and what is not known. I did have spokespeople though, and this is where I'm thinking that it can minimize some stress in her life if she would have a trusted family member, advocate. I was assigned through the courts a victim advocate who could speak on my behalf if one of my close friends or family members could not. I eventually had to get an attorney, but and that would do some speaking, but normally I would do the speaking because that's just kind of my personality. I'm an introvert. I probably relate a little bit to Malaya that and I will you like, how could you be an introvert with the channel? Y'all are my outlet. Otherwise, I'm very to myself. But that's the one critique because I'm thinking, okay, you see, Belinda's already out here talking. Maybe you could link up with Belinda to speak up for on the behalf of the family. Or maybe you have, someone, your attorney or someone speak on your behalf and give one statement. You don't have to give a bunch of statements. You could say, this is a very trying time for us. We have some information that we're processing, dealing with. And if it's a representative on behalf of Malaya, she is not in a condition right now. Now, like I said, the optics look fucked up, right? They do. But if you don't know the full context, then really, why are you sitting up here persecuting her? And people keep saying, well, she should be out there looking and this and that. I firmly believe she has information to know the fate of her children. And if that picture, that Snapchat is correct, look how slim she is. You saw how she looked in her one interview, a little round in the face. Her collarbone is covered by the Hello Kitty shirt. But in that Snapchat picture, which I feel like it's from another time, but that's just me, you can see her collarbone showing. I know what it's like to have a little weight, and I know what it's like to be slim. And I know what it took for me to get to those kind of weights and whatnot. So I just feel like you all are just jumping to conclusions, and you have to be careful about that. Because what if it isn't anything involving these people? And look what y'all are saying and doing. And especially people who have never walked in these type of shoes before. I want to hear from those of us who have had a public tragedy involving a child in particular, or someone who has lost a child, about the grieving process. I want to hear from y'all, especially in the comment section, because you will know what I'm talking about. I get it. This is a super frustrating case for a number of reasons. A number of reasons. I'm going to go into them in just a moment. I'm not going to keep y'all here too long because I got to get to some readings. But that would be the only critique, is that I think it would help everybody, and especially Malaya if she has someone speak on her behalf. But I also understand, like, you don't give a fuck what the optics look like. And if you've been in those kind of situations, you would know why. Um, yeah, so there's that. Let's see. If I had a friend who went through something very similar, like to Malaya or to myself, and knowing how it literally saved me and brought me back to the land of the living, of what my friends did for me, what my community did for me. I really hope that Nova Scotian community, Pictou County, is showing up. Yeah, you can have your suspicions, but I hope you all are showing up. When I went through my public tragedy, there was an outpouring of support. There were meal trains. We didn't have to worry about meals for months during that crisis. People coming and supporting us, the hospital being very protective while my son was, admitted and in ICU. Um, Everybody was so supportive. The family, my family, extended family, near and far, really showing up. Now, granted, my child wasn't missing. So it's a different ball game, totally. But I did have an unpopular opinion. I'm not going to go into his case because this is about Lily and Jack. But but I did get some nasty little messages, to the point that, my friends would tell me, don't go on the news Facebook page, please, Kim. Don't go there because you're gonna be we're handling them. Don't go there. And so I listened to him. I didn't. So it's not a surprise that Malaya's phone may be with somebody else, to deal with and fill the calls and messages she may be getting. But I do the same thing for my friend that was done for me in a heartbeat. And I'd stand 10 toes down on that. I wouldn't just be putting a little post on social media. I would do a little news thing. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to talk about the case. I'm going to talk about how I love my friend and how I seen her failing. She said some things that alarmed me. And I'm going to do this. And you may see me drag her out to the lake this weekend so she can get some sunlight. Don't mind us, okay? And we don't know what efforts she's doing to process her grief. We don't know what efforts she's doing to process what happened. We don't know what law enforcement her got going on. I would do it. So I don't know about y'all. I don't know what kind of friends and family you are. Like this whole Derwin, what's his name? Darren. You wouldn't be no kin of mine after this. We could be blood related, but I don't, Where I come from, that's shisty. Yes, some of y'all are like, he means well, and I know him. Good for y'all. Where I come from, that's shisty. He's very protective of Janie, uh, Daniel's mom, and Daniel. And then I started thinking, well, why is that? Oh, he's biased. There's allegations, and if you come in my comments, I'm ready for you. There's a bias. They said that he may have some kind of friendship or relationship with Jeannie. And so it seems to me he parrots what she and Daniel are saying, which is his right to do. But he is not giving first accounts from what I've heard so far. Belinda is. She's saying Belinda, who is Cody's mom. Cody is the biological father of Lily and Jack, and she is the paternal grandmother. She is giving firsthand accounts. She is saying, I saw this, I heard this, I said this was said to me, etc. And then she don't go too deep into what she don't know. She may make an assumption, but she makes it clear it's an assumption or she don't know. She could assume this. Okay. Okay. And some people might even take issue with her speaking up. Some people would be like, I don't know. I don't know. But on the other hand, I can understand why she feels compelled to speak up because nobody else is. She's also given context and background story to about her son and why he's not involved. And I have to respect her on that. That must not have been easy to do, but she did it for the sake of her grandchildren. I can respect that. But it's back to Durwood and them. He's biased. He repeats back what he heard. He has an incentive to protect Janie, who there in Janie by way is protecting Daniel, right? I'm not seeing nobody really protecting the kids, the missing children. That's just me. Um, yeah, and I wrote here a little note. With family like Darren, who needs enemies? Because you could spout off all the hearsay all you want to, but at the end of the day, you're not really helping, son. Okay. Janie, context. Again, this is a great example of I'm starting to see a tide turn against her. We didn't even really, I never really knew her name until this week. But there is this allegation that Belinda mentioned that Janie didn't want her trailer searched. And I was like, uh-oh, what could that mean? It piqued our interest naturally. We're like, what could that mean? And there, it's normal to have your interest piqued on that. It's normal to say, ooh, okay, that might be a potential red flag to explore. Not, I'm going to suspend judgment, but let me think about this. There could be innocent enough reasons why she didn't want to. And I started to think about them and list them in my mind. One could be she's a hoarder. We see the outside of her property, right? That's her property. Daniel lived there. That's her property. And I'm seeing some hoardish tendencies either with him and her or her, and then it's sprinkled onto her offspring. That's what I see. And I could see like she's just kind of like caught up and embarrassed or whatever. They said that she has this dog. Now, to me personally, I would be like, if it wasn't a hoarding situation plus dog, I'd be like, okay, well, let me move the dog. You can look. I want, I'm an open book. That could be another thing. The dog situation. I don't know what kind of dog she got, but maybe that, I have a Rottweiler and my baby, my lover we would just move her to one spot. However, another innocent enough reason, and some people would be like, well, I don't agree. Well, that's your choice, and that's what's beautiful about humanity. We can have choices. Where I'm coming from the US, you'd be like, you don't search anything without a warrant. I know my rights. You're not gonna search anything. I don't care how much you need to or want to. Now, some people would say that kind of teeters on not being so innocent. True, it could or could not. I don't know in Canada what your rights are because I'm not Canadian. I'm assuming since we share the same continent and same landmass, if you will, that it's similar, más o menos. But that could be innocent enough. Now, some less innocent things I thought about. I'm like, well, maybe she got some sort of alleged evidence, drugs, allegedly, that somebody, because Belinda said that she heard that bit of information about Janie not opening up the trailer. It was soon after the kids went, like, but a day or two after the kids went missing, and maybe she didn't get a chance to move some things, allegedly. This is all in my opinion. Just thinking about reasons why somebody would not want to open up their trailer. Maybe you have some ideas on what it may be. But without knowing what's on Janie's mind or what law enforcement knows or don't know, or the full backstory or context of the situation, all we can do is say, yeah, that's an interesting point. That's a red flag, like a mug, but doesn't make one guilty, right? Maybe she's protecting someone else. You got to understand their motivations for why they are doing something. Now, hmm, Daniel. My issues with Daniel, let me count the ways. Let me count the ways. He, in that message exchanges that Belinda has admitted that they are real. Again, it could be not real, but I tend to trust Belinda. She seems like a straight shooter. He's admitted to being the disciplinarian of the two of them. He says that, you know, the kids crawled all over Malaya. She don't discipline them. So that tells me that, okay, she may either be guilty allegedly of neglect or just, passive parenting. That's a thing. Many people don't do heavy-handed or corporal punishment at all or any kind of punishment. They just was like, no, I'm gonna let my kids be my kids. But he admitted to being a disciplinarian. And guess what? He not once expounded on what is his brand of discipline. Now, did he? That's what I'm talking about. That's the issue. He's had several contradictory stories on key information. Things that he should remember. I don't expect him to remember what the kids were wearing. I don't, I understand. Not everybody's going to remember that. But certain things he's come out and he's given multiple statements. So you got to remember what you tell people. And some people are like, well, you think you're an expert. Actually, I am, not in criminal matters, but I've investigated hundreds, if not thousands, civil matter cases in my prior career. I've read I get countless transcripts of statements that people give and the things, and I was trained on understanding and analyzing statements, approaching it from a civil matter. And I'll just leave it at that. Everybody has their motivations on why they would withhold information, why they would try to make themselves look better. Some things teeter to criminal, some things teeter to fraud, and some things are, most times, are completely innocent. Just don't know. But he has been highly protective of his mother and his brother, but throws Malaya under the bus whenever he can. Then he tries to pretend like he loves her. Maybe he does love her, but this is not the brand of love that I could see any woman sustaining for a very long period of time. And I think that that's why my reading and many of our readings who did readings and many of you who are just tapped in and intuitive or just logical could deduce like, this was about to boil over even before the kids went missing. But I'm noticing a pattern of manipulation and emotional blackmail with him. And it makes my skin crawl. And it's interesting how some people don't see it, and some people really think that he is just this stellar human being. And that's your right. It's also my right to say, I suspect him like I suspect every single one of them people. Until those kids are found, I suspect everybody. That's just me. And I stand on that. And that's helped me have a successful near 20-year career of the work I did before I say, you know what, I am spiritual. I want to do readings full time and spiritual coaching full time. And I left that professional life behind, but I kept an open mind and followed the evidence. I'm evidentiary, baby. And his statements. Now, what Malaya got going for her and going against her, she only gave one statement. But you know what? That's her right. And at the end of the day, we have to just still give him the benefit of the doubt. He could just be somebody who just don't remember stuff and he just like to fill in the gaps with what he can't remember anymore from the week before. He could be completely innocent and I just have to accept that, right? We all do. But yeah, he bothers me quite a bit. Quite a bit. And it's so interesting how she's been villainized. They both were having initially at the outset of this whole thing, they both had similar statements and that they were in the bed together. So to me, You saying, oh, Daniel protects Malaya, or Daniel's, he's out there searching. I don't believe he's searching nothing. And have you listened to his statements? Really listen. It's me, what I'm doing, I'm innocent, I'm in I if they both really believe that there was an abduction, you would move a little different, right? So I'm not gonna sit up here and be Team Daniel or team anybody in the situation. Team Malaya, I'm not. Because I stand on my readings. If you watch the readings, if you've been on my channel and you watched the readings at the start when I did the opening oracle readings for Lily and Jack's disappearance, I stand on what came up in those readings. Sometimes I don't agree as my logical mind starts to step in, like, oh no, I can't believe it. What if it is a stranger? What if they one theory I can't get with and I won't get with is that they're hiding on on the reserve. You can, I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong. That would be one time that one of many times it'd be great to be wrong, right? That they're alive and well and they're being protected. That would be awesome. I just don't see it. Um, I have my intuitive hunches on what happened, and I've shared them, but I cannot be a judge and a juror. I have to be a human being first. And I always lead with compassion and seeking to understand someone and where they may be coming from, especially when I've gone through a similar walk, not the same. And certainly I can't even imagine losing. It's like when someone loses their entire family. And that's why I can slightly, like, let's say Daniel is innocent of everything, I could slightly feel bad for him. But if he has nothing to do with it, I ain't got no sympathy for his behind. None. And I know many people have their opinions about what happened or didn't happen or how they showed up or didn't show up. But I really feel like the people closest to the situation know the kids are no longer with us and they have concrete evidence as to why they believe that. And that's why Malaya is just like, I know that I know, as Daniel would say, I know the truth. Oh, when he said that in that interview, I'm like, I bet you do. I bet you do know the truth. Good. Good for you. Let's hope that eventually the truth is revealed and the kids are found. That's what I hope for. So that's what I got to say. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and it's, I had to give you all of that to say that's how I feel about it. And you may still feel the way you feel. And I can really see all y'all's points. I really can, because I'm like, ooh, I don't know. After I do the one quick reading I plan to do, and I recorded the one on Tuesday of this week. I think, was that the 24th? I think so. I'll publish that, and then I'm going to take a break from doing Lily and Jack readings unless you all let me know in the comment section or email me and say, hey, there's a legitimate like person of interest who popped up. Can you do a reading real fast? Because I'm not going to have my full setup here when I'm traveling. I travel in a few days, 3 days on July 1st. And I'm recording this as of Saturday, June 28th, 2025. And so I will only have a couple of my true crime decks, and I'll obviously have my tarot deck. So if you all have a case that you want me to check out, let me know. I'm happy to do that. Um, I could probably do a quick opening oracle or tarot reading, or I could get a pulse on somebody who's a legitimate person of interest. But mind you, I'm gonna be in my home country and I haven't been there since the beginning of 2022. It's 2025. So you can imagine all the catching up I got to do, all the business I got to handle, all the family and friends I got to see, etc. So that's what I got, friends. I hope y'all don't kill me too much in the comment section, but I do want to hear from you. And I think this is an important dialogue because it broke my heart where people were like, well, why isn't she doing this and why is she doing that? And I'm thinking to myself, because she probably knows. And if she's grieving, like I think she is, she's not going to care like y'all want her to, nor should she really have to. Until you walk in somebody's shoes, you really, your judgments are just nothing but very painful, not just to her, but to her family, her friends, her community, and to people who actually have walked a similar path. We see that and we're like, damn, if I have another loss or if my loved one has a loss, this how y'all gonna get, this how y'all gonna get at us? That's how you gonna roll? So do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'll be around. There will be videos published, some deck flip throughs, of course, because I do have some deck flip throughs, y'all. I'm gonna probably be taking you all around with me on a couple of little excursions in the US. I'm coming from the Caribbean. I've been living in the Caribbean and I'm going back to the West Coast. I've planned to go Northern California. That's where I hail from. And then I may have to make a pit stop in Vegas because my one of my sons live there. So I may be recording videos. I'll see about doing a live. I don't know if I can, and we'll see. I might even get to meet with one of my members, my channel members, who lives in the area where I'm going to be primarily at. And I'm super excited about that. And you know who you are, friend. And so, yay. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that things might seem a little die down on my channel than normal, but it's only because I'm going to be traveling and, doing other stuff in the States and probably gaining 15 pounds, which I'm looking forward to because I'm going to eat all my favorite foods. So you all take good care of yourselves, okay? Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. And we pray, don't we? We pray that these babies are found. Jack and Lily. I just pray for news. I pray every morning I wake up for the cases I cover, especially involving children. Cold cases, new cases, that they're found every day. I hope. That's the tough part about doing these readings. So, anyways, bye, friends. Let me go on and get ready so I can pack. I've been procrastinating like crazy. Bye.